Can you believe it? The Houston Texans did nothing at the NFL trade deadline. How are they going to save the season? I'm Paul Gallant, and this is the Gallant Says podcast.
A radio show host in Seattle called Paul Gallant.
Paul Gallant's wondering the same things a lot of people are.
You are definitely living in the hindsight world today, Paul.
Do you feel there's been a consistent theme with the interceptions?
I think every interception really has a different story.
I was just kind of curious what Paul gets to say.
You got f***ing grow, mother. Are you kidding me?
Paul Gallant, what the hell is wrong with you?
Oi! Welcome aboard the Gallant Says podcast. It is Wednesday, November 5th, live on YouTube at Paul Gallant. Like this video and subscribe. On Twitch at Gallant Says. On X and Twitter at Gallant Says Pod. Instagram at Sports Gallant. Facebook at Paul Gallant Sports. And on the TikTok at Gallant Says. You can join me to watch this show live Monday through Friday around noon Central Time, don't you know? It's available after the fact, wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify. If you want to cut me off mid-thought, you can super chat me. That's all you got to do. YouTube is the preferred way to do it. I will play this when you do that. And then I'll get right to your comments. But I will eventually get to those comments, which you can also leave via email, gallantsays@gmail.com, or by leaving a text message or voicemail at 281-836-3912. TikTok, Rixo says, D'Amico should call place to see where it goes. Rare Candy 86 says the Houston Texans suck. Well, at this moment in time, they are 3-5, and things aren't looking so good. I do want to apologize. I haven't done a show for the last couple of days. I was busy. I was busy doing something that's a little bit more important than Houston Texans football. I was busy running for mayor of New York City. I'm sorry. It's time for me to come clean. I ran for mayor of New York City over the course of this past year. A lot of people have been wondering, Paul, why aren't you on the radio anymore? It's because I ran for mayor of New York City. And here's the other thing, guys. I am now the mayor of New York City. I know, you're probably thinking to yourself, Paul, no way. You're actually Zoran Mamdani? Yes. Not only am I now the mayor of New York City, but I'm also a Muslim from Uganda. I don't really know how to pronounce it. I've left the country, just like I left the radio, to become the mayor of New York City. Paul, what are you talking about? Why are you making this show so fucking political? What's your deal, man? Look. This is me. I am the mayor of New York City. Okay? I am the mayor. Don't believe me? Who's that? Is that you? Is that a pasty white talk show host who talks about the Houston Texans? Or is that Mayor Zoran Mamdani? I don't know. People have been texting me congratulations for my win. I never did get the conciliatory text message from Andrew Cuomo, but yes, I am now the mayor of New York City, okay? And you might be looking at me right now and saying, Paul, you don't look like Zoran Mamdani right now. Where's the rest of your beard. Well, I'm sorry, but as a communist, like a lot of people are, I really wanted to lean into my communist roots. Okay? And I thought, what better way to show the world that I'm a communist than by looking like Joseph Stalin. Okay? So just wanted to get that out of the way as we start off the show. I know a lot of you might be thinking to yourself, Paul, this show's getting a little bit too political for my taste. Well, I'll be fair and balanced right now. A non-established politician won an election for a very relevant position. Who'd have thought that could happen in 2025? It's not like it's ever happened before, other than, I don't know, 2 of the last 3 elections. Speaking of non-establishment politicians, I do have a confession to make. This triggered me. This triggered me just a little bit. I do not like hearing this coming out of the mouth of the President of the United States, okay? I didn't like this.
Elections coming up Tuesday, we asked the president about the highly anticipated mayoral race that includes former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo and Zohran Mamdani.
Zohran Mamdani, 34-year-old Democratic socialist. He's the
communist, not socialist, communist. He's far worse than a socialist.
Some people have compared him to a left-wing version of you, charismatic, breaking the old rules. What do you think about that?
Well, I think I'm a much better-looking person.
How fucking dare you, sir? I know you're the president of the United States, but how dare you say that you, President Donald Trump, are better looking than me, Zohran Mamdani, who is now leaning into his communist roots with a Joseph Stalin-esque mustache. Oh my God, talk about sports. Fine. Fine, everybody. Look, I'm just making jokes. Goodness gracious. But, you know, look, this political world, it's getting into our lives. You can't get away from it anymore. You want to stick your head in the sand and just talk about sports? It's not easy. Watch a sporting event. You're probably seeing a bunch of political ads these days. And there's a couple that I saw over the last couple of days that I feel the need to show with you. I'm not talking about the John Cornyn ad that literally says, he does 99% of what President Trump wants, or the endorsement from a transgender rabbi for Zohran Mamdani. I do, though, want to show you a couple of really interesting political ads that are related to the Houston Texans. Let me know if you've seen this one before.
The Houston Texans' future is bright, with D'Amico Ryans as head coach and C.J. Stroud at quarterback. 2 division titles, 2 playoff wins, 2 leaders for Houston's future. But their regime is being ruined by a couple of nicks. One of them's supposed to be Italian, but at the NFL trade deadline, did you see this nick making any offers other teams couldn't refuse?
Anti-Italian discrimination.
That nick just got here, and somehow the offense is worse than it was last year with this guy.
Like, our approach is football is football.
Get those nicks out!
This advertisement was paid for by, no, seriously, none of this is C.J. Stroud or D'Amico Ryan's fault. So that's one advertisement I saw. There seems to be a power struggle going on over on Kirby Drive in the Houston Texans organization. On one side, it's D'Amico Ryans, it's C.J. Stroud. But Nick Caserio seems to have a super PAC of his own. There was actually a political ad that they fired back. Get a load of this one.
Nick Caserio is a patriot. Nick Cayley is a patriot. 2 men who helped build America's most successful and most American team. But their red, white, and blue dreams being threatened here in Texas by a regime that keeps playing players
with terrorist-sounding names. Aziz Al-Qaeda, Dario Gumbumame, over hard-working Americans like Davis Mills and Jarrett Patterson? Do you want a team that looks like you? Or do you want a bunch of Zoran Mondanistans in battle red and deep steel blue? No FOMO? No D'Amico. Sorry, bro. You gots to go. This advertisement was paid for by the Mills Mafia. So things are getting really tense over at NRG Stadium, and it's even turned into political ads. And you would have thought with elections yesterday that these would now be in the past. Sadly, you were mistaken. So the Houston Texans didn't do anything yesterday at the NFL's trade deadline. Definitely a kick in the balls, considering that the Texans looked pretty hopeless once C.J. Stroud got concussed against the Denver Broncos on Sunday in that last-second loss. I watched that game on the plane. I'm not spending time away from my family. On a serious note, I was up in Massachusetts this weekend. I'm not taking time away from my family to watch this fucking team anymore until they actually do something of note in the second round of the playoffs. I have let this team in particular run my life on a level that really frustrates me, especially when my favorite team is once again good after their own little reset era. It's very frustrating. So I watched the game. I mean, the Texans' defense is great. The offense can move the ball when C.J. Stroud's out there, just can't score touchdowns. Stroud got concussed, and the offense moved the ball at a much worse rate than they did before. I know some people want to focus on, well, that should have been a personal foul. C.J. Stroud's got to be better about sliding. I think it should have been a flag. I don't think they should have picked it up. But it's a lesser version of the unnecessary roughness that Azeez Al-Shaair laid on Trevor Lawrence. So let's not be hypocrites. Davis Mills comes in. Texans couldn't move the ball with Davis Mills under center against an also great defense. And right now you've got questions about D'Amico Ryan's game management. Why the fuck are you trying to score with Davis Mills at the end with the way that the offense was going? You go 3 and out. We've got major questions about personnel usage, specifically why there's so much Dare Ogunbowale and why there's so little Jalen Knoll. And all the questions we've already had about roster construction, specifically when it comes to building an offensive line this offseason, they are still there. And you were hoping that the trade deadline could fix some of these things, make the Texans a better team, especially with the Colts trading a lot for Sauce Gardner and the Jaguars getting Rashid Shaheed from the New Orleans Saints. They added. You didn't. You're 3-5. You're in third place. What the fuck gives? I don't think that buying would have affected the trajectory of this season. And I know some of you are going to be frustrated with that, but I said this going into the year, and I'm maintaining this stance. The hope, which is getting more and more faint, is that this current offense can start clicking by late November. The defense gives you some leeway because it should smother the teams that you're better than. How many of those teams are there? Great question. This defense, though, should allow for the offense to keep riding the bike with their training wheels. The problem is you're not seeing any progress from this Texans offense against teams that are healthy defensively. And I know some people will say, well, first quarter, Texans-Broncos, you did see the Texans move the ball a little bit. Sure, fine, whatever. But did you think that was going to last all game just given what you've seen most of this season? I'd like to think yes. I'm not naive here. Because there are issues that have arisen in just about every single part of the offense. The new play caller, Nick Caley, he's still learning. CJ Stroud regressed, seems to have happy feet. The weapons that are around CJ Stroud, not good enough outside of Nico Collins. The Texans team, for whatever reason, likes specific members of the offense more than they should. Talking about Dario Gunbowale, talking about the lack of usage of Jalen Noel. Is adding someone going to fix all of those things? Was adding someone going to make all of those problems disappear? Probably not. I see a lot of people out there saying, well, the Texans should have traded for a skill player. But do you trust this coaching staff to acquire a new skill position player and to use that person correctly? I don't. You shouldn't either. Why would you? I know there's other people who are saying you still want an offensive lineman, especially considering you're still rotating your left guards. Titus Howard has a concussion as well. But were any offensive linemen available? This is not me boboing for Nick Caserio. I'm just asking who was available. 2 offensive linemen have been traded this year. You were one of the teams that traded an offensive lineman. Texans traded Cam Robinson to the Browns for a 6th-round pick. They sent a 7th-round pick with Cam Robinson to the Browns. The Chargers made a trade. They got tackle Trevor Penning from the Saints for a 6th-rounder, but they're in a desperate spot. Both of their starting tackles are out, and the Saints, that season's over. Is Trevor Penning good? Truly don't know. But if you're sending a 6th-round pick for the guy, Saints are probably like, all right, well, I mean, he's not really helping us out much. Chargers lost Rashawn Slater. Joe Alt's re-aggravated an injury. So they're down their 2 tackles. That's why the Chargers made that deal. They're just looking for bubblegum to plug a hole. Is it going to work? The asking price for a good offensive lineman was going to be a lot at this point in the season. I do think in the offseason, the Texans should have traded a draft pick for Joe Thuney, especially since the Bears just sent a 4th-round pick to the Chiefs to get him. I know there's contract ramifications and all that stuff, but I mean, he's better than anyone on the offensive line right now. So maybe you do that in the offseason, but what's the asking price for a good offensive lineman? Especially when you see Sauce Gardner, who hasn't been very good the last couple of seasons. Maybe it's because of the situation he's in. He went to the Colts for 2 first-round picks and Adonai Mitchell, who has been rather underwhelming statistically this season. That's the asking price probably for a great offensive lineman, a lot like a Laramie Tunsil. You're going to have to overpay. Is that worth it? Is it worth it to make a move like that? Current assets for the Texans are as follows. Texans cap, put this together. Here are the current draft assets for the Texans. They have a 1st-round pick in this coming draft, 2 seconds, one of them is the Commanders, a 3rd, 2 4ths, a 5th, and a 7th. Do you want to trade a 1st and a 2nd to go get an offensive lineman who's not going to fix all your problems? Do you want to trade any of your picks from 2027 or 2028? At this moment in time, you might think, yeah. But then you look at this team, you see they're 3-5, and towards the bottom of the in the hunt graphic that you're starting to see on the CBS broadcasts and the Fox broadcasts of games, is getting an offensive lineman going to get you a little bit closer? So I don't think buying at the trade deadline was going to make the Texans better. That's not me saying they shouldn't have made any moves. I'm sure they tried to make some moves. They didn't make any. And I think some people look at the NFL trade deadline the same way you look at the baseball's trade deadline. Trades just don't happen the same way that they happen at baseball's trade deadline. I know, obviously, there were some big ones. The Sauce Gardner trade, the Quinnen Williams trade. The Jets had their fire sale. But trades are rather rare around the NFL's trade deadline. And I think because there's such a abundance of people putting hypothetical trades out on the internet that everybody sees a lack of trades. And you're like, what the fuck gives? I see some people pushing for the idea that the Houston Texans should have sold at the trade deadline. All right, maybe. Season's done. 3-5, though. I don't buy that. You got 2 winnable games in the next 2 weeks. You're going to be 5-5, I think. I know they didn't play very well against the Jaguars, but is Rashid Shaheed going to make that Jaguars team significantly better? Maybe he does. I don't know. But Trevor Lawrence is still their quarterback. They're still a really sloppy team. I mean, they were playing with their food against the Raiders, barely won that game. Needed a 68-yard field goal to get across the finish line against them. And you play the Titans after that, and they stink. Do you really want to sell? And who would you have sold? Who are you selling here? Are you selling Nico Collins? Your only good offensive player right now? That's the only thing that people would give you the kind of haul that you're hoping for. And by the way, you're getting rid of a great player in Nico Collins. What are the odds you replace that guy? Are you selling Danielle Hunter, who's a free agent in a couple of years? I'm sure he would have gotten you something, but probably not as much as you're looking for. I don't think buying would have fixed anything for the Texans. I think they got to stay the course with the offense and just hope it gets better. That hope is getting fainter and fainter. But selling? Fuck that. Ownership owes you a competitive product. This team was unwatchable from 2020 through 2022. And I can't believe there are people who would prefer to throw away the rest of this year for picks. Over half the season is left. There are still 9 games to go. And you want picks? By the way, who's making these picks? I thought you guys all hate Nick Caserio. Do you want the next general manager to come and make those picks? He's probably going to get hired with a lot less time to get ready for a draft than optimal. That's how it works. If you fire Caserio now, okay, maybe that expedites the process. But you fire Caserio before the draft, you're giving the new GM like 2 months to make picks with all these picks you just got. And if you don't like Caserio, I actually think Caserio does get unfair blame for where the Texans are. He's found some guys who are good players. But selling at the trade deadline to get more picks, you have to hit them. And most picks that you make don't even end up being starters. So trade players who are good for players who might be good? I've never understood that line of thinking. I really just never have. So the Texans did nothing at the trade deadline, and a lot of people are frustrated. Well, they did do one thing at the trade deadline. This is actually a post that they made. You got to give them some credit for this, okay? I know people are mad at this team right now, but they did do one thing. And I think it's time for you guys to be fair and acknowledge that they are giving back to their fan base in their own way. Let me show you what they did. I really think that you're going to have a deep appreciation for it. Here you go, guys. An incredible gesture towards their fans by the Houston Texans.
Thank you, Pro Standard. Thank you, Pro Standard. What the heck?
This is cool. Ace down, Speedy in the house.
Ace down, baby. Thank you, Texans.
Isn't that awesome? That's awesome. Right there. That's what they did at the trade deadline. They posted that video. And I, for one, think that's a really cool thing. You should too. That was really cool of them. You might be thinking, wait, Paul, what just happened? They made a post. It says the sweet life of H-Town influencers. Yeah, in the Ticketmaster H-Town Influencer Suite. Look, you get a Letterman jacket. You could get a JJ Watt jersey and a skirt and boots. You can get a box, another box, another jacket, a jersey. Yeah, man. I mean, fuck yeah. Look at this shit. This is sick. This is sick merch. So they did do something at the trade deadline, and if you can't give them credit for that, you're just fucking stupid. Okay? Yeah, I said it. You're a fucking idiot if you can't appreciate what they just did right there. Okay? I know some people are wondering, well, who the hell were those influencers and celebrities? Well, Carl Lewis was there, and Cheryl Swoops was there. Don't forget about Young Star. He's from the Screwed Up Clique. They got Mackenzie NJ Manbeck from Big Brother Season 26, who is from Houston and fucked up and blew the chance at a $750,000 grand prize. Relatable to the Houston Texans in the second round of the playoffs. There was also Zach Shallcross, who's a reality TV star from The Bachelor Season 27. He was the white man with the short brown hair. He was seen holding a laptop and jerseys. Oh, and don't forget, Marcus Houston, a Houston R&B singer and actor from the group Immature. You know? He was there. There are other people there, and Grok actually couldn't figure out who they were. Grok couldn't figure it out. But a lot of you people are ungrateful for what the Houston Texans did at the trade deadline. And I just think you're dumb. You're a dumb, stupid idiot and can't see the big picture. They're giving back to the fans, right? They just gave back. They gave back to all of those people who you know, and I don't know, but I'm old. I don't understand anything anymore. You know who they are. And shout out to them. Okay? Just a shout out. Like I'm shocked by the amount of people that are mad at the Texans right now. I'm shocked. Greg Todd asks, is this sarcasm? No, this is real. The Texans did exactly what they needed to do at the trade deadline. I want to wrap things up with the posts that I made on X. I perhaps got a little bit heated. Perhaps I was a little harsh. Way harsh, Ty. But I posted, trading proven players for picks always works. I did this while I was at Ragin' Cajun yesterday, eating a roast beef debris po' boy. And I continued by saying, there's an alarming amount of people who are cool with their team tanking halfway through the year. An alarming amount of those people get high off the draft industrial complex's supply, which is based on hope more than their accuracy. Your favorite team is unlikely to get a 4-year starter, let alone a Pro Bowler, with their earliest picks. And yet, you'd root against your supposed team down the stretch, advocate trading a guy whose jersey you own for the chance of replacing him? If you're one of these people, you're a born fucking loser, frankly, and deserve to be a practice dummy for the people you think so little of for a week. Yeah, I'm talking about you. The people here who were mad about beating the Colts in the last week of the season because they might miss out on drafting a quarterback who is over an inch shorter than me. Complete fucking loser. This is the worst byproduct of letting the data people into the huddle. Dweebs like Sam Hinkie advocate gaming the system so you get a fatter sports welfare check, and desperate dipshit owners buy into this in the short term, treating their loyal customers indoctrinated into believing they should root for their team no matter how stupid this lucky sperm club member probably is, the way a drug dealer treats an addict. That is what you are dealing with. I would say a third of all American sports fan bases are stuck in some vicious cycle thanks to some billionaire dipshit who probably wants the product he owns to be relevant, but do they care about winning? No, they care about profits. And you're stuck with people like this. But you keep rooting for the Jets over and over again, and then they strip parts, and they get a bunch of first-round picks, and you're thinking, well, these first-round picks are going to work out. This is the time to reevaluate your relationship with your favorite sports teams. If you're someone out there, and the team that you root for is going back to the well and doing this over and over and over and over again, it's time for an intervention. And while I might have worded that term, fucking loser, a little harshly, what other way would you stop putting your money into a bad product that's not bringing you any joy than by having someone shake you and call you out? The idea of absolute loyalty in sports, I understand why it exists, but it should exist to a certain point. I don't understand how you can justify sticking with the Jets if they got some good players in the draft and then they just trade them all for picks. You think they're going to nail those picks? Teams do this over and over again. A GM wants to have draft picks so that they can draft players that they think are great. Coaches want their guys. Doesn't mean it's going to work out. Draft is a crapshoot. And you want your team to lose so that the people in charge will have a better chance at replacing them, which is far from a sure thing. It's just fucking wild. Oh, but more draft picks do players make sense if you hit on them. And the Jets have done this so many times, and yet they haven't learned from it. So these are things that I want you to think about if you're a sports fan. Why would you root against your team? Why would you root for them to lose? And I would especially say that about this team right now that's 3-5. Are they going to turn things around? Probably not. I bet they're a 7-win team at the end of the year, 7-10 or something like that. Just the way things are going offensively, no matter how good this defense might be, I just don't see any progress from the offense. There's still plenty of time for them to make progress, but is it the kind of progress that's going to get them to the second round of the playoffs or the championship game? No, we're not seeing any of that right now. So we can throw that in the trash at this moment in time. Could they still make the playoffs? Sure, it's possible. But I don't understand the idea of rooting for them to lose. You want them to get better. And you want your team to win, right? It's weird that people advocate tanking. I just will never understand that, and I think that the people that do are fucking losers. I really do. I think you're a bad person. I think you're hoping for something that's immoral. You want guys to go out there and suck. You want a doomed squad, a suicide squad of sorts, to go out there and just get mollywopped up and down the field so that the dipshits running your favorite team have a chance to pick somebody who maybe will be better and maybe will be worse. It's fascinating. And I've seen, I guess, too much of how the sausage is made in sports to ever have any belief that this is the kind of hope that it can keep you warm at night. It's fucking crazy. So these are things I want you to think about. Rooting for your team to lose when you want changes. Hey, I can understand that. I was feeling that with Florida a little bit earlier this year in college football. I can't believe they kept Billy Napier going into this past season. But I still felt guilty about rooting against my favorite team. I'd want the Patriots to be the worst team in the league with Bill Belichick running the show a couple of years ago. Stumbled into Drake May somehow out of it. That's looking the best of all the teams that pick quarterbacks at the top, given what happened to Jaden Daniel at elbow. Ugh! And how Caleb Williams is looking. He's having his moments for sure. Stroud looks better than Bryce Young for the most part, though. What kind of a victory is that at this moment in time? It's just weird to me. I don't like it. I feel like it's become normalized, and I think that everybody's got to look at themselves in the mirror and shake themselves out of rooting for a team to lose so that you get better draft picks and wanting a team to tank. It's wrong. So there you go, everybody. That's going to wrap up today's edition of the Gallant Says podcast. Sorry it started as late as it did. Those 2 political ads, which I will post to all my social media channels, took a little bit of time to put together. I'm on YouTube at Paul Gallant, on Twitch at Gallant Says, on Facebook at Paul Gallant Sports, X at Gallant Says Pod, Instagram at Sports Gallant, and on TikTok. Please like, subscribe, follow, do whatever you can to help this show thrive. It's also available in podcast form after the fact, Apple Podcasts, and on Spotify. Subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend. The Paul Gallant experience is still alive, thanks to you. Just give me a little bit of help. Anyway, until tomorrow, around noon Central Time, so long, farewell.
Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu, you ladies of Spain.
And have yourselves a wonderful Wednesday.